A time now that we are all looking for chizuk and Emuna and Kollel Yisrael, and also we sing a chizuk and Achdus and Kollel Yisrael. And I think that when we hear the name Rabbi Sholom, Rubashkin, we think of those two things. We think about chizuk and Emuna, we think about Achdus and Kollel Yisrael. Everyone came together, and he continues to bring people together to his message of Emuna and chizuk and Emuna, and myself and many others who have read his book, parts of his book, have gotten tremendous chizuk from him. And in everyone's matzav, whatever matzav one is in a tzara, there's always something that a person can take, a chizuk and Emuna, and to hear directly from Sholom himself is going to be a tremendous chizuk for us, and we really appreciate him coming. And thank you to Mr. Dagmi, Shol.com, for arranging this and many other things that we will be nana from in the near future. Mr.
There's a lot to give over in a short period of time, so I would like to begin with a matzah. I had a big nest. The matzah I was in 6 years ago, mamish now, 6 days Chanukah. The government got after October 7. I think this thing's become a little more clear to understand. For whatever reason, there were people after me that got put into a place called prison, and they wanted me to be there for 27 years. What does a yid do when he's in Eis Tzara? That's the real question that Baruch Hashem, I was working in a very big business. My father had a very big business there. I wasn't the owner at all. I was helping my father. They made me into this big macher, and I was working there, but I'm working very diligently. Baruch Hashem, part of a very big success story. I never imagined myself to be in such a matzav, and you can't be in the matzav of any business if you don't have Emuna, Bitachon, Leibishter to begin with. I always thought I did have, but then suddenly I found myself with a something like this, and it was really. They have to be makabel what's going on, obviously, because you have Emuna. Can you trust? Does the Bitachon mean to have trust in Hashem? Hashem will help you to get out. That was what Hashem wanted me to do. So I opened up the Torah. I opened up the Sefer. That's the sugya of how Eid has to, and all other Rishonim like Rabbi Yena Shari Tshuva writes. The market of Bitachon is. If any finds it's not his bazar, that this is not just in the matzav of Muhammad. If anybody is in a tzara kreva, Yeshua Hashem believe kirbei v'yiftachalov. The aim from Bitachon clearly, at least the Lashar Bitachon is clearly that Eibishter will help you out of a tzara. That's the point. But how? Why? But the isn't the fact that you find yourself in a tzara proof that Eibishter wants it. How do you change it? So I set about learning about Shara Bitachon, and what becomes clear, this I try to do in a few minutes, is like this. Shara Bitachon begins with a very interesting few words. He says the reason why he writes Shara Bitachon after Shara Vedas Elikim is because the most important thing for Eved Hashem is to have Bitachon in his Adon. Meaning, simple. We everybody in this room, I know, I have to imagine, wants to be an Eved Hashem. So do I. So Torah is telling you the most important thing for you to know is that if you need something, you should trust the Adon to give it to you. Because how can you be an Eved Hashem if you're missing money? How can you have the Eved Hashem if you're missing gesundheit? So most people, when they talk about that Bitachon will bring you what you want, right away, what do you want? Right away, the Hitzchon, the Yitzhahara, what do you want? $1 million, $5 million is not a lot of money. But I want $1 billion, and Baruch Hashem, how do you know why? How do you know it's good for you? But that's not most issues people are facing today. It's not a shaila if it's good for you. If a person needs parnasa, you can't say maybe it's not good for you. If a person needs a shidduch, can't time if it's not good for you. If a person is gesund, so that's what he says. The most important thing for Eved Hashem is to trust his Adon to get him out. So start from there. So if you're in a place called prison and you can't serve the Eibishter, if you want to be Eved Hashem, and in prison you can't be, so the most important thing you have is to trust Hashem to get out of it. So how does it work together? You have to have the Emuna that whatever happened until now is Gamzul Teva had to happen. But together with that, so you makabel. The Kabbalah has to be. The God in today's Pasha, Erechayim HaKodesh, he writes, when it says about the Bonim, you should look it up. It says the medicine for Yisurim is to accept it. Sama, forgot the Lashon over there. Because the Bonim went down to Mitzrayim, he says willingly, and the Bnei Yisrael didn't. That's what Hevi Itoi. So the first thing you have to do is to accept. A Yid has to accept whatever happened. So I was in a very big business, and suddenly it went all. The Eibishter made it in a way that it went all blew up. So the first thing for me was to accept whatever happened as Gamzul L'Teva, not to think my life could have been any different. And this is not only in this matzav, any matzav a person's in. Where he was born, who he was born to, the talent that he has, the matzav he is in. The first thing he either has to have is the Kabbalah that this is the Eibishter wants him, and what the Eibishter wants from there to serve him, to show that he can serve Hashem even in this matzav, and then have the Bitachon Hashem will save him for the future. Hashem will save him. That's the mahalach. So that's the first nukuda I wanted to bring out. Second nukuda is I want to, rather giving drashas on that, I want to share with you a story that actually happened with me. In the place called prison, there was a visiting room. In the visiting room in this place, a total of time with all the county jails, I was in prison for like 8.5 years. But in this one place, Otisville, they put me over there in a higher security sense because they wanted me, Rachmanas, to be there for 27 years. So they put me in a very high security prison, meaning it was not a camp, it was between murderers and the people that were strong men. I'm not people that were from the mafia, people that killed other people for money. It was that type of clientele was over there. And here they threw me in there because I was there. I didn't want 27 years, so I got double whammy. Sign the more difficult place. And one of the nisim I saw, I want to talk to you about Hatem Bechazik Saboteas and Masmidis Lamatzav today, but I'll leave that for the end. I want to start with this story. So one of the things I saw Chazei Hashem is that they had over there a visiting room. The visiting room wasn't behind glass. It was the family can come and you can sit with them around the table, a small table. We sit around the chairs and you can talk. If I bring an hour, 2 hours, my wife used to come every week religiously. Fridays, the family would come. It was a glue time. Then the friends would come Sunday and Monday. Here was a challenge. The challenge was to get into this visiting room. You had to have points. So every prisoner was allotted 12 points. There's the math. Follow the math for a second. It's not that complicated. Friday is 1 point. Sunday is 2 points, and Monday is 1 point. 1 plus 2 is usually 3, and another one is usually 4. Right? How many weeks in a month? Usually it's 4, sometimes it's 5, but 4 months in a week. 4 times 4 is 16. So you never have enough points to have a visit every time. And I really wanted to visit Sai family and Sai friends. And my brother used to come a lot of times. Sunday we said Pasha Learn. There's a Gemara there. I got a Gemara inside, and I finished home after Shabbos in these visits. I used to use it. So it's out of the prison. There was like a little bit of a level of freedom there. So. And then I found out if Monday, Columbus Day, if it's Columbus Day or Thanksgiving Day, they take away 2 points from you. So a point is a big thing because you can't replace it. And if you take away a point, you lose a Friday. No, so it's my fault. So I went over to the captain and I asked the captain, tell me, why are you charging 2 points on a holiday? Is it crowd control? Or is it Stam? As if he has to answer me. It's not a yeshiva, you walk in, you argue, a sugya out. And then one of the Piliploim, he says, I said to him, nobody's there. He said, if crowd or Sunday people are there, but Monday nobody's there. So he says to me, Pella, he says, the visiting room is made to use, so if nobody's there, I will give you extra points. Yeah. Gewaltig. I'm talking about soon, it says in Shar Bitachon, in Perik Beis, it says one of the ways you can mechazik Bitachon, when you see constant good things happening with you, so you see the Eibush is with you. So that's mechazik Bitachon. Gewaltig, so every month I used to come to him at the end of the month, because at the beginning of the month I didn't have to go to him because the Eibush is going to free me, right? And then the month I realized that the Eibush is not. He talks about Dafka Shar Bitachon, he says, what happens if you go to work and you weren't successful yet? So you have to know the Eibush has his time. So forward is Bitachon, whatever happened is Emuna. So at the end of the month, I go over to the captain and say, give me extra 4, 5, 6 points, whether I need it, and he's fine. I said, right over there, if the place fills up, I'm the first guy to leave. Good, Mechaya. Then this one goes a while, I go over to the officer who's in charge of putting it into the computer to make sure the front the office over there knows that I have extra points, so they let my family in. And one time he blows up on me, this officer, and tells me, "What do you think, you're special?" So yeah, actually I do, but why are you asking? So he says, what do you think getting more points? I said, I said, the captain gives them, what's mischt sich rein? Why are you mixing it? So he says, "You're bothering me. Every month comes some very, very hard-working people that interfering." So he gives me an eitzah. He says, "Go to the captain and ask him for whole year points." Something Father Gates. So I made a cheshbon that if a 5-week month and that with a legal holiday, you'll be surprised how many legal holidays there are. I would need 5-6 points that would work out something like that. So I went to him and said, "I'm not a chazir. Your officer said I should go ask him for a whole year. Better give me for a whole year." He said, "Good." And he signed me a piece of paper that I have every month extra 6 points. Right? Gendikt. Machaya. To be in prison for this big machaya. But upon him, now this problem is solved. Every month I gotta go look for them. To make the story even stronger, before I got for the whole year, if I would miss the captain at the end of a month, I'd be shit to never want to go to him at the beginning of the month. If he went away for a seminar or something, if he left, then nobody else would give it to me, only the captain. So this makes the story. Then one summer, I find out that the rumor is he's retiring. So here's the Echetimsech, over here. Am I allowed to go to ask the captain for next year points or not? Now I learned Shar Bitachon many times. I learned the whole Sefer Chesed many times, but Shar Bitachon also much more many times. And at the end of Shar Bitachon in Perek Zayin, he devotes a whole Perek on Mafsida Bitachon. That means the same way Bitachon the Eibishter is the Ikrim writes that Chesed Chinam the Eibishter, it doesn't take a Chesed in order to be mamshach on you Chesed Chinam is Bitachon. Bitachon is mamshach on you to have the Eibishter to give you Chesed even though you didn't earn it. More than Schusim. And you have to believe that Eibishter will do it. You have to have Bitachon. So if you're lacking the Bitachon, you're going to hurt yourself. And that's the what I live with. So it does say not I live with. As a state, as a fact, you have to be very careful not to be afraid. It does say that Chashom, a person loses his Bitachon, that can hurt him mamish. So I had to make sure that if I'm going to ask the captain for something, like he says in the beginning of Shai Bitachon, you can't be pulasecha seisa devarecha by the Amgushi over there. The Parish told him something, and he says, you're talking a nice talk, but you're doing things that are not real, right? So here I am. Give me points for next year. So I'm telling you, I woke up every morning with the Bitachon. The Eibishter is getting me home today, and I'm asking points for next year. What was my real fear was the Eibishter would say, you got it all figured out. You have points, bleib dort. I didn't want them to say that. I want them to free me. That was one problem. Second problem is right away. Come on, man. You go get. But I didn't want to do anything if it didn't have a derech from Torah. So the second problem maybe was a bigger problem. Who is really giving me the points? The captain or the Eibishter? So Eibishter say Eibishter, sure Eibishter, and then they go to the captain to get the points. So if I really believe that Eibishter give me points, why in the world am I going to the captain? So the captain gave Chaim Tevim Sholom, and the same Eibishter give me points with this captain, give me points with a different guy. Why am I so desirable? Because this one because I really maybe believe that he's giving me the points, and somebody won't give me the points. Because if Eibishter giving me the points, why am I going to him? The kids and Amaisi, you get the feeling at least what I'm talking to you about. And this was bothering me, and I wouldn't go to the captain until I worked it out. So I learned Shara Bitachon again with this question in my mind. I was trying to find a heter, how to go over to the captain and get points. I couldn't find a heter. There was nothing in there that showed me to do it. I want to explain you. This is really what you get when you learn. When you learn, it's not just you're learning without booking. You partially start understanding that wie man darf sich fühlen, like a Hichel Shabbos, Hichel Tefillin. You have to do it right. And I couldn't get myself to go this. June went by, was easy. July went by, it was easy. August, September, October. As it's getting closer to the new Goyish year, I'm thinking to myself, do I have a right not to go to him? What happens if I'm here and the family wants to visit and I have points? But I wouldn't make the move. The next is I didn't make the move because that year, December 2017, they freed me from prison. I didn't need the points anymore, Baruch Hashem. And I really believe if Chas Sholom I would have gone to as a captain for points, maybe it was geshat on the nest that I had. I'm starting with the story because I want to bring out that I experienced a real mess, because the day before I was freed, what I'm trying to do over here is to encourage the learning of Shara Bitachon. That's how, you walk into the saying the speech of us of Hogeton. That Pashat learn, they go into yeshivas. Yeah, but learn to have muscle shmusen. You have to learn. You have to learn, because when you learn, you internalize and you get to think the way you're supposed to think. And suddenly, first of all, you're more emotionally healthy. And let me say this part of the story. Go very straight to the next. When I was freed, Baruch Hashem, about a year before, there's a Tayere Yiddish writer called Yisrael Besser. I don't know if you know him. Maybe his articles in the Mishpacha magazine. He was very supportive for me all the years. And one year at Pesach, he asked me, write an article and you envision your gula, how it's going to look like. Good. So I took a piece of pen. I wrote an article. When I get the Pesach Teva, that they should freed me. How is it going to look? So he pushed me into a matzav like this, and I wrote in detail. I'm going to look at this and remember what I did here, and remember the good thing I did there. Because mitamol, the nishains I overcame here. Then it hit me. Then it came to mind. If I'm mamish expecting, because I'm expecting so much that David is going to free me. So David does free me. I'm going to lose the element of surprise. You get a chesed, you get a surprise, you get very excited. There's a certain element of excitement. Wow, yeah? And I would lose it because I'm waiting for it. And I didn't have the answer. I was wondering, how is that going to be when I get the Besura Teva that I'm free and without the element of surprise? So this I want to share with you. When Baruch Hashem, the day before David freed me, I got a letter from the government highest court, and they said to me, the letter said that your last motion is denied. That is a rubber stamp over there. Every time Rubashkin denied, yeah. And B'meila, the 27 years is going to be the way they said. There's nothing you can do about it. But Derech HaTava is going to be 27 years, and they're stuck here for another 18 years. But they didn't say that word, but that's what I read the paper and understood exactly what they're saying. And you can't do anything with Derech HaTava because the case is shut down. All your motions are taken away. Look at Tater. Tater never has something like that. You have to do Tater with somebody. You come with a different mitzvahs. You can come again to the Rav. I remember looking at the paper and like this meant. I saw what happened to people when they get such a piece of paper. They fall into depression. They like the little hope they had. By me, Baruch Hashem, I learned Shara Bitachon many times. It was never the sibus, never the shtadas that I've ever imagined would help me. I always trust Hashem to help me. And I said, listen, I can't do shtadas anymore. But so it means I don't have to do shtadlis, but doesn't mean I can't get help. The Eibishter can definitely help me without my shtadlis. And the Eibishter knew better shtadlis. I was mechazik myself. That night I went into the chapel. I lit the 8 lights of Chanukah, and gesungen stay stark on the Sachov, on the Sachov was gedam special on Nisim. The next day I woke up in the morning. I used to get up every morning and say the whole Tehillim. Yeah, every morning. I used to get up for years. I get up 4:30 in the morning. And I say the whole Tehillim. I wasn't sure which capitals is Gula for getting out of prison, so I hit them all up. That's the Sachas. The real thing is, saying the whole Tehillim as a special Gula, I really wanted to go home. So I got up in the morning and talk about motivation. It was like, for the future. In Shara Bitachon, he says, I want to point out some highlights. In Peirik Gimel. In Peirik Gimel, he writes over there in Akdama Ravi. There's 5 Akdamas to have a Bitachon Eibishter. Everybody's always talking about 7 factors to have Bitachon Hashem, right? You see stickers and these cards. It's all Peirik Beis. You look at Shara Bitachon. At Peirik Beis, it's not even talking about Bitachon Hashem. He's talking about Bitachon the person and those 7 things. That's if you trust the person. And then he finishes off Taka that it doesn't exist by a person, only by the Eibishter. But he didn't have extra ink. He wrote Peirik Gimel also. And not because he had extra ink paper, because in Peirik Gimel he tells you that to have Bitachon Hashem, you have to have 5 Akdamas. This 7 I just told you, and Benusach to the Eibishter. And then there's 4 Akdamas. The next one is Hashem checks your heart if it's true or not. I told you the whole story with the points. Hashem knows what you're thinking. You can't say one thing and do something else. And you can't partner anybody in your Bitachon for Yeshua. That's the 3rd one. The 4th one is very interesting. The 4th one is, but the B'teir B'Hashem is someone who tries very hard. He doesn't say you have to do it, because who can do everything without a. But a person tries very hard to do what the Eibishter wants you to do, mitzvahs, and stay away from averos. Why? Because the same way the B'derech Hashem wants Hashem to be masking with him. Listen to this lashon. Wants to be masking with him to do what he's asking for. So it stands to reason that if you want Eibishter masking with you, you have to do what Eibishter wants. Right? And then he brings the Mishnah. I say that. But he always has this logical explanation also, because he says you can't be Mekayim a chiyuv on a leiv. Your heart, you have to first understand it, then you have to bring a rai from a pasuk. But here's the word. I get up every morning, I say all to him. That's how I got into this conversation. Why? Because I'm going to try very hard to do the Eibishter wants, the Eibishter I want. So trying to Eibishter wants in the place called prison means we're yamakin tzitzis, not coming up with cheshbonus. That when I get out, that's when I'm going to do everything I have to do right. Here I can slack off, right? Forget. That's what Eibishter. That's an asayan means that in this dark place prison, I'm going to show the Eibishter I remain the same year that I am. And I'll do the Eibishter wants. So I used to get up every morning and I had a whole seder learning. I was done learning every single day. It was a matter. My wife was left at me. The only guy in prison has no time. And I never watched television there. I want to tell you, I never watched television. Never. And I don't be magazine. I never stopped for a second to watch television. Why? Because I want my head clear. You can't watch television and ingest goyishe gedanken. People fool themselves. And then expect to understand the way the Eibishter wants you to think with that way also. Because what do you think you're watching over there? You're watching goyishe things, how they go and think, how they get out of trouble, and at the best of situations, worse is a erger. And there was a guy there who lived in New Jersey. And he killed somebody, and he got 2 life sentences. America is a very generous country. They give it 1 life sentence. You can do 2 life sentences. He killed 1 guy, 2 life sentences. Yeah, it's a fact. And but the pella about this guy is if you looked at him, he looked like a normal guy. And the pella is that he worked in his spare time to what do you call it, Hatzola in the Goyish Nusach Havdul, EMT, I think it's called. He was a volunteer EMT. So I once asked him, how do you go? And he was one of the priests over there Sunday by the thing. I asked him, how do you go killing a person? He did something really in cold blood, and there's too many cameras there. But off camera, I'll tell you exactly what happened. He told me, anyways, and. I said, how do you kill somebody? You're saving lives in one day, and then you kill somebody? He stimmt this. You know what he told me? He tells me, I don't know. I got angry with the guy, and I acted out something I saw on TV. That's a fact. So you think you're watching, hast du geguckt, and you ingested it, you took it in, and he got angry. And with them all, anger equals this, and he acted out something on TV. That was a side. I'm sorry, I didn't want to get into the conversation, but the word is I used to get up every morning, I said learn and daven. I said hold to him, and that was the point. I was busy doing the Eibishter wants. I felt close to Kodesh Baruch Hu. So the Eibishter then, that's what Bitachon really means. Bitachon means learning, doing mitzvahs, not having a coffee, feeling good about yourself. Bitachon is not positive thinking. Bitachon has what I do. What did I say wrong? Okay. Somebody didn't like I said. Bitachon is not a coping mechanism. Bitachon is real. Bitachon, when you have Bitachon, you're learning with the Eibush that tells you how he runs the world. And he tells you how the world works. He tells you and tell you. So I got up, I did that. I got up the next morning, I'm going to tell you, I got up this Meshuggah letter the day before. Aleph Tevis. I live with Aleph Beis Gimel. Aleph is Emuna, Beis is Bitachon, Gimel is Gula. Yeah. Emuna, Bitachon, Beis is Gula. That was my way of easy reminding myself. Next morning I got up. I want to get up and have a Yitzhara. We all have Yitzhara. Maybe you don't have Yitzhara, but I do have Yitzhara. Yitzhara says, Shalom, are we getting up for? I'm going to say, Tillim, you got a letter yesterday, you're stuck here for another 18 years. So I said, yeah, but I will daven some Eibush, and Eibush is a kill Yochel. He can get me out with my Stadlis. What's happening in Korp? He tells you, no, Yitzhara gives you a hard time, go back to sleep. So I told him, you stay in bed, I'm getting up. And I got out of bed. The pellet, looking back till today. I said, wie de Eibush hebben keges, because the Eibush is in the soil, he's a keges. How I did this, I got up that day, I said to him, that was base. Yeah, I didn't know, that's the day I'm feeding me. And 6 minutes to make the time is ticking. The stories take up a lot of time, but it really brings it out well. They locked me over there in the place called prison. The cell that I was in is a little bit bigger than the one I'm staying in right now. It was 8 feet long, 6 feet wide. I had 2 people in there. The door was locked at night from 9:30 to 7. Every day, 3:30, they locked the door. They did inventory control, and they wanted to make sure that everybody is there. They walk by, they count everybody. 4 o'clock, I washed the matzah and tuna fish. I had my suda for this Chanukah, and then suddenly I hear the guard coming straight to the door the cell that I was in. Notice I didn't say my cell. It's not my cell, right? The cell I was in. And he opened the door and he tells me, Rubashkin, get out. That's it. I was in the middle of davening today to get me home. My till was in, said, yeah. So I looked at him and I said, okay, where am I going? I'm going home. He said to me, you're changing your location. That's far as they wouldn't tell me. And I grabbed my talis bag. And I'd like to say this. I want to make the people to learn. I had this little Shabbat Bitachon. Later I got older, so my eyes got weak. I couldn't learn from it. But the first Shabbat Bitachon I got was a small safe of a pocket size from Feldheim. And my way of saying I'm coming home because the Bitachon is going to get me out of here, I used to say that I'm walking out of the door with this safe. And that day, I took it out of my locker that was there. I put it in my towels bag. So when I grabbed my towels bag, I thought I did walk out with it. It's interesting. It's very, to me, it's very powerful stuff. I grabbed my towel because I kept it in the locker all the time. I shouldn't wear it. I used the biggest set, and this one I kept on the side. And that morning, for reasons I put it in there, David knows why, and I got out. I walked into a room. I came into the store about surprise, and I walked into the room, and then I realized something's going on, and the warden and the assistant warden is there, and they're looking at me, and looking at me. No, say something. They wouldn't say anything. They're waiting for the paper, you know. They're staring at me. Why are they staring at me? Because they were watching a miracle in front of their eyes. Now, what would your face look like if you're watching this the Yam Suf split? That's what they look like. They were just staring in wonderment. And then they got the paper and they tell me, congratulations, Mr. Rubashkin, the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump. I want to give my bracha in Makam Kodesh. They should bench him. He should win the presidency. And and they should get back what they stole from him, and definitely Avi so. The kids are nice. So this, he's President John Trump just signed a. If you don't agree with me, you can still be friends, guys. You know, so if you have to shoot me. That I'm standing over there. I'm standing over there. I hear the good news. I was waiting for this piece of news for 8 years. I worked for it. There wasn't a Pestam Gesetz and Gewalt. I worked. And here I got it. So first of all, I just stood there and I thought to myself, look at this. Yesterday I got a letter from the most powerful country in the world. And they told me, you're staying here for another 18 years. There's nothing is getting you out of here. Yesterday. And the next day, sagt der Eibishter, ich bin Balabos, and he is going home. You know, and then I said, wow. And that wow, it was a different wow than when you're surprised, right? Mama said, wow, Hashem, you did it. I trusted you for 8 years and you did it. There was such a feeling of closeness. I hate when speakers say I can't describe it to you. So why are you talking about it? I'm gonna try to describe it to you. There was a feeling of kiruv, though you feel like by Shema Yisrael by Neila. I don't know where you have, but there was a feeling of oneness. I trusted you for 8 years and you did it. That was the wow. And that wow is with me till today. That's the point. When you're surprised, and then back to my question. My person is surprised. And he kept on springen and dancing. Wow, I just won a lottery ticket, $1 billion. $1 billion, Hashem, you're so good to me. Wow, I can't believe it. I'm a rich man. Wow. I don't believe it. And you remain the same behemoth you were the day before. $1 billion more. You said you thanked the Eibishter once, you forgot about it. Why? Because you don't believe it. So the surprise of the wow of a surprise. Remember I asked a question, what I'm cheating? I didn't cheat myself of a surprise. Because the surprise wow, that's why when you learn, when you live, you daven, you ask the Eibishter for something, and you get it, then you feel more closer to the Eibishter than that surprise element which you don't believe happened, that doesn't change you. And this brings us back, I want to take one more good and bring it back to Amatzich today. And I'm going to tie it together. That in Shabbat Bitachon, this is a very interesting thing. In Pei Gimel, he says, that he says, I'm sorry, in Perek Beis he says this, there are 7, I'm touching something, I'm sorry. In Perek Beis he says that the 7 things, Perek Aleph, he establishes that, can I speak a little longer? Who am I Rabbi, yeah? I want to share something with you. I think there's one element there I had prepared, and I really want to speak about it because I think it's in the Pasha Nagay also to our matzav today. Emotional health. You can understand very well that that I was challenged with anxiety and depression and how do you say Sholom, all these emotional problems. In the place of prison is a place where it cooks there, because you're standing there with people you don't want to be with, locked in very close quarters. There's no way out of there. There's a guard by the door the whole time. You're locked. How did I walk out of there normal? That's the question. Assuming I'm normal. My assumption is I am. And the 2 guards, after they were feeding me, one guy calls up they weren't allowed to talk to me, so they call my wife up, and they tell her, I have an amazing story, and don't tell your husband this, but I'm listening. And so he overheard 2 guards talking to each other, and one guard says to the other guard, "Who is this Rubashkin that the president just freed?" Because some guys knew me, they took care of the building I was in, so they knew me, and some guys didn't know who I was. So he's asking, maybe he saw me, I was there in that place over 7 years. Who is this Rubashkin? So he described me. And how he described me? The guy, the guy that was always happy? That's the guy. Now, I wasn't walking around with this Meshuggah where they have these emoji smiles over there. What a great thing to be in a place called prison. I'm a high, I'm so happy. What a wonderful place. It wasn't that. The guy was describing a person, and I never saw myself that way. I was actually shocked. But I want to bring this out. That when a Yid, even the Shas Tzarosa, he's in a tzara, and it's painful. The pain can be there, but if he sees the pain as something the Eibishter wants him to overcome and to remain the same Yid that he is, then suddenly he can be b'simcha in the matzav also. That's the point I want to bring out. I have a cousin, but wasn't secure. He once came to the prison. He tells me, "Shalom, you have to stop being so good." He figured out how to get me out of prison. You have to stop being so good. I said, "Well, that was." He says, "Yes, Hashem sees how well you're handling it. It'll keep you here for 27 years. You got to stay in bed. Don't get out of bed." First I thought there's no bed over here. So whatever you're laying on, stay there, and that's it. And you tell Hashem you can't take it, and that's it. I said, that's it. How's that going to change it? That's the logical way of thinking. It doesn't work. You have to look in Torah. Torah says when a person goes through a Nisayon, he goes through a matzav, where the matzav is trying to tell him you can't be a Yid over here, and the Yid says I can be a Yid over here. That's the reason why he was created, and he brings kedusha to that place. That's, if I can't tell him, I'm gonna show the Eibishter that even if I'm in a place like this, I'm still going to remain the same person that I was, maybe better. And then the Eibishter will feed me kachava. That's the point I want to tell you. So, what was really thinking about when every time a thought of depression came into my head, I worked on myself to ask myself who is talking here, the Yetzer Tov, Yetzer Hara. Somewhere, I came out of a cave. I was away for a long time. Somewhere in the talk, in the Yiddish sprach of the discussion, I went to all different types of yeshivas. I went to Stone Yeshiva, I went to Terevidas, I went to Lubavitch. I Baruch Hashem saw many different kehillas. As a kid, I even wanted me to see this. I grew up in Borough Park. We always spoke about this. Whether you were talking in Stone, you were talking to Terevidas, talking about a Yid has a nefesh of the kids, he has a Yetzer Tov, yes, he has a Yetzer Hara. What kind of business is it? So when you get an idea in your head, the first thing you have to ask yourself, who is talking? Whose narrative are you accepting? So something's going on good. Whose narrative? Yetzer Hara. So here is an actual picture of what was going on there. I used to talk to a lawyer, especially the last 3-4 years, a long time. They found really evidence how the government really violated my constitutional rights, and I should have been out of prison. According to them, I would be out of prison 2 years before it actually happened. They still wanted me at the time when I had to get out. And then getting off the phone with the lawyer, I'd lay in bed at night, the Krishma finished, and then suddenly, Baruch Hashem, I never took sleeping pills. I chazed out, Shara Bitachon, Perek Aleph and Perek Beis by heart, so I was able to, so that's what and then sometimes I would start thinking about the case, and suddenly I find myself not being able to fall asleep. What happens? If you can picture a text message or a WhatsApp thing, what's happening is I start out thinking, okay, I just talked to the lawyer today, and he said this is going on. What happens right away if this happens? If thought comes, what happens if this doesn't work? Then okay, we'll do this. If this doesn't work, and then you go back and forth like a chat in your own brain. And what's the maskana? There's a big problem. Maybe 27 years. What are we gonna do? And I can't fall asleep. Right? So, in other words, I was getting anxiety and depression. So I realized that the whole conversation, if you don't believe what I'm telling you is accurate now, learn Shari Yichda Maisa Chevas Lavavos and see it's exactly from there. That's what I'm chazering you. Shari Yichda Maisa Chevas Lavavos, Perik, hey, learn it. Learn it. And this is how the Yetzer Hara works. He comes to you talking to you. He wants you to accept his way of understanding it. And how do you detect that it's Yetzer Hara, not a Shtadlus? If it's bringing you to a matter of depression, is that right? Yetzer Hara was getting depressed, or getting fearful. So what do you do with it? You can't fight the depression on the bottom of the screen. You have to delete the whole conversation. Mine was like a computer. Control, Alt, Delete, geendigt. And I knew this would happen. My point is I knew this would happen. It wasn't a question if it happens, because I was in a very terrible place. I prepared myself. Like I said before, I chazed out. How are you supposed to think? When I chapped myself that I'm trying to buy in a narrative from the Yetzer Hara, I said no. I'm going to start thinking like it's a tape. And I started chazing I started mamish chazing over what it says Shabbatachon. I calmed down and fell asleep. Why am I saying this to you? Because a lot of emotional problems, people are addressing it as if you only have one nefesh. All the studies are working with Goyim. Goyim have to take one nefesh. They have whatever it's hard. A Yid has two nefashis. He has Yetzer Hara. So you have to understand that it's not your Yetzer Hara. When a person is challenged with an union of anxiety or depression, he has to first ask himself whose narrative are you buying into? Why? You have a koyach within you. Through a connection with the Eibishter, you can heal yourself. And that's how I want to bring at this point. And then I want to bring you the chizik of Telas Masmidas and connect it to the matzav today. In Shara Bitachon, in Perik Beis, he tells you the 7 things to have Bitachon in Hashem. And the 5th one, he says something very, very powerful, and it took me a long time to figure this out, Baruch Hashem, but I got it. He writes over there that if you're trusting someone that's always been there with you, and has been there with you, and will be there, is with you, then you're mechuyev, he uses twice the lashon chayev, you're obligated to trust that one. Why? Bavur, for the previous good he did for you, and the good he's doing right now. Now I'm sitting in a place called prison then, and I'm learning this piece, and I'm thinking, how do I take, when I learned Shara B'tochen, I wasn't learning it as an abstract idea, I was learning it, what do I take from it? How do I live with it? Okay, so, Maskim, the Eibush has always been good to me. I grew up Baruch Hashem in a beautiful family, Baruch Hashem, nice business, I had a beautiful, the past, beautiful, hard-working, but beautiful. But now, Telas HaMasmidis, that's the Lashon he uses. The constant good. What constant good? I'm sitting in a Fasholt in a place called prison. They want me to be for 27 years. It's painful. It's hurtful. Separate from my family. So how can I have Bitachon? If he says to have Bitachon, you have to know the good that he did and the good he's doing. What's going on, right? I didn't have an answer. And I say this when I repeat this Indian. I wish I did not have an answer. But you're allowed to have a question. But if it says in Torah, you have to trust it because he was good to this good, that's a fact. Now figure it out. That's how I worked on it. And a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, I can't tell you how much, it was a while later, and then hit me the answer. When a person is going through a tzara, no other problem. Says that Shara B'tochen, you want to be mechazik, he usually did the lashon, the chayiv, the cheskas b'tchenet, the mechazik b'tochen. How are you going through a hard matzav, and another day, and another day, and another day? How you mechazik yourself that it will be the Yeshua you're waiting for? First, remember all the good. You're trusting someone. Remember all the good he did for you, and now remember the good he's doing for you. What kind of good? 1 second. I get up every morning. I'm healthy. So that if the Yetzer Hara wants to convince you, they wants to convince a person that because he's in the tzara, Hashem abandoned him. Ligna. Hashem didn't abandon him. But I'm healthy. I was in a place, a very dangerous place. It was a very dangerous place. People got beat up over there. I witnessed fights over there for nothing, for much nothing. They stick one of the weapons they use very easily. They took a combination lock which they gave everybody for a locker. They put it into a sock, even rhymes, and they put it in a lock in a sock, and boom, you have mamash a real weapon. I saw 4 or 5 people get their face smashed in. The guy next door to me, a Native American, got his face mamash smashed in from this approach. Yeah, I never got hurt. I never got beat up. I was there between, never got hurt. Appella says you can't stop and say, well, I'm a short, not so strong Jewish boy walking around with a yarmulke. Made sure my pants grew bigger than it used to be to make sure I'm Jewish. My tits were flying out of my pants, and I said daven on the corner, but in the middle of the room sometimes. And I said hello, goodbye. I never played cards, and they never hurt me. So what's going on over there? David bent to me, David is with me. Then you have a matziv. I used to get mail every single day. Every day I got the Abish to make sure. 1 letter, 5 letters, we usually do 4 or 5 letters, 10, 20, 30, 50 sometimes of people are writing into me, they're davening for me, they care about me to be strong. Now, I could have fooled myself if I was an idiot, I'm not, that I'm a very popular guy. You understand? But in Shai Bitachon, it straightens you out and tells you if you the Eibush is the first one in Perek Gimel, the Eibush is Rachamim is the total of everything, and if you see Racham from anybody, it's Eibush having Chamanos on you also. So if you see somebody having Chamanos on you, is a raya that Eibush has a Chamanos on you. It's not that person that has Chamanos. So if you eat not have a Chamanos on me, is a raya that Eibush does have Chamanos on me. Why is it sort of timing that you're abandoned, that Eibush let you go? People are diving for you. The government took away illegally. Fact, illegally. Later they said it's too late. I couldn't argue it. They took away all the money we had. I had my father. The mamish left us as because that's the way they get you. You can't defend yourself. So they just sent money from other ways. And they sent in good shluchim that brought money. People gave money for the fund, and people gave money for personal. One rich guy, the chesed where people gave, they bought a house. My family, we had not much for zero. If we have a chavis, we didn't got together and they bought my family a house in Muncie. A smaller house, but a house in Muncie, and they lived there. One day, one rich man gets in his head that we got to get him a better. 2 workers knocked on the door, and they tell my wife that somebody sent them, and they redid the whole kitchen, just like that. That's Teil Samasmidis. They came back from a visit in the beginning of the time. They found Mrs. Green. Every Thursday night, the family received pizza and falafel and fries as a sign of love from the community in Mikam Yisrael. You shouldn't feel alone. What's all this happening here? So I have, and my kids are going through cheder. I started. My youngest kid was 4 years old. Now Baruch Hashem is 18. I had a daughter Baruch Hashem, she got married. She was 9 when this happened. Baruch Hashem, all my children went through the whole thing. Erlich. Precisely because they never saw a professional. I want to make it because they never spoke to a goy. They got it all from Torah. I want to say this. Call me wise guy, but I'm telling you a fact. They looked at the parents. We spoke to them Yiddish. I didn't Yiddish. We spoke to them Yiddish meaning and content. Eibishter, Gamzul Teva, Hashem is going to help us. We have to stay strong and Torah mitzvahs. Shar Bitachon. That's how they got it. They saw me, they saw my wife, and they went through with it. And they went to school. And one day my kid tells the teacher, my tati loves to learn. Where did this kid say his tati learn? He was 4 years old when the priest came here. Because I used to make sure every Shabbos they should get an email from me with a Dvar Torah. I sent for the younger kids. So if you were sending an email with a Dvar Torah every Shabbos, I send emails to kids. The kids should read. If I couldn't be physically by the Shabbos table, he chapped. Tati loves to learn. He's always sending a Dvar Torah. Try it. You see it works. And my point is that's Tiyas HaMasmidis. I was trying to recount. There's more tavis. So the point is in the tzara. So what's taich? Yes, I had a big overarching problem called 27 years I was in prison. I was suffering in a place called prison. But I can take chizuk. This, not only thank you Hashem for all the good. Maybe you didn't understand me. I'm not talking about thank you Hashem for all the good only. Of course, that also. But more so, the Shara Bitachon is teaching you, see that thank you Hashem, that Hashem is with you. Hashem never abandoned you. The same way He's helping you in those areas that are less important to you right now, because by you have a really bad pain in this, you forget about the other pain. So this take chizik from there, that the same way the Eibush is helping you over there, he'll help you here too. And that mamish helped me so many times, because how did you go to 1 year, 2nd year, 3rd year? I got a letter from another writer, and he writes to me, tell me, for a second I got offended. He tells me, it's the 6th year. The 6th year that you're talking a stronger week. I'm sitting and watching this little screen over there, and I got angry. I got stronger. I really felt stronger, but I wanted to explain to him, and that's where I share with him this the gedank. When I first started out prison, who knows what would happen? But as 6 years into it, and I see that the Eibush is with me, it's not still dying from me. I'm still healthy, and the people are not beating me up. The family is still healthy. That's mechazik me, that my Bitachon, that I will see my Yeshua as it says in Shara Bitachon. And that was Mechazik. That's what he says. He uses twice to go inside. Pen base, the 5th one. Okay? Now let's bring it to the matzav now with Yisrael, and we're going through. It's very easy to talk about the terrible. The ISIS is not enough to describe the tragedy what happened when they came in and what they did October 7th. Yeah? And all the pain. And everybody talks about how many people got killed. I think about the wounded. Sometimes the wounded are like in prison, they're maybe worse off than, I can't say worse off, but no, it talks about them. People laying on their hand, on their foot, the Tzara Sirus, and Hashem Yimkum Dama. Not only the ones that got killed, the ones that got hurt. Right? But it's also important for us to see the Te'as HaMasmidis that the Eibush is doing since then. That Eibush is with us. We see a tremendous tshuva by all Yidden, the Achdus Agab by Yidden. We see a tremendous hatzlocha in erasing the Amalekim from this world. So we have to look every time we see a nest, every area of a nest. Look at the Testament. The Eibush is with us. Chas v'sholom to think Chas v'sholom the Eibush to forsake us. No. The Eibush wants us to. He is with us. We can't answer why somebody have to die, and I don't think it's our job, Chas v'sholom, to even give an answer. What kind of answer can you give? That's not the point. The point is, the Yetzer Hara was trying to get a person Chas v'sholom to be a Chlish Adas, that a Chas v'sholom the Eibush somehow is not with us. Look for the Te'as HaMasmidis. I'm sharing with you a gedank in the Cheves HaLavav Shara Bitachon. This is not stammer. He says, look at the Te'as HaMasmidis that's going on, and from there, take the same way the Eibush is giving Atzlacha here, we'll take a Bizeicha to see Agodah Shleima. Shebemheir b'meinu now.